Jake here for American Trucks, and today I'm taking a look at the MBRP XP Series single side exit exhaust system for 2011 to 2016 6.2 liter F-250 Super Duties. If aggressive looks and exhaust notes are on your short list of wants for your next system, then this is going to check all the boxes for you. With solid construction, a great sound, and a reasonable amount of volume, all at a good price, this has all the hallmarks of a great exhaust system. It's going to make an excellent addition to your 6.2 powered Super Duty. Now, I have to admit that I am a fan of MBRP's offerings. I have one of their exhausts on my admittedly much older truck that is not an F-250. It's been on there for a couple of years and I really like it. Their offerings continue to bring some really good stuff to the table for what is always a reasonable price. What we have here is a 4-inch bolt-in resonator back system that offers a cool rumbly V8 sound that is a noticeable change versus stock without going too far overboard. That said, this one is going to come in at a 3 out of 5 on our loudness meter. Now, as you heard in the clips at the beginning of the video, you do get that grumbly signature V8 noise outside of the truck, but it's not too over the top. Not quite enough to, say, rattle the windows or wake up your neighbors. So if you're looking for an exhaust that has some aggressive note to it, it's not going to get the HOA called on you, well, you're in luck here. Now, this is what MBRP classifies as their street profile, so it's not quite as loud as some of their other offerings. And that is thanks in no small part to this muffler, which has some really good baffling inside. You can see it's rather big. It's going to be good at canceling out unwanted drone and volume. You can see it's got some good canceling properties there too. There's not a ton of resonance out of this thing. So inside of the cabin, things are also going to be relatively subdued. Now, of course, you will definitely hear this more than you would your stock setup, but it remains pretty quiet overall. So carrying on conversations with your passengers or enjoying music or a podcast is easy. It's not going to be negatively affected by installing this. Just keep in mind though, of course, it is an aftermarket exhaust system. There's a little less baffling here than your regular system, so it is going to be a bit louder. Now, the whole thing is made from 4-inch mandrel bent T409 grade stainless steel, so that on its own is going to provide some good exhaust flow and protection against corrosion and rust, though not necessarily quite as much protection as a system that's made fully from T304 stainless. And of course, you also get this 5-inch polished angle cut T304 stainless tip with the stamped MBRP logo here to cap it all off. And the design of the over-axle pipe does tuck that tip a bit closer to the body of the truck, so it's going to give you a cleaner look and a bit more clearance in the rear as well. Pricing will come in at about $650, and I do think that that represents pretty good value for your money here. Now, while you're not getting the fanciest materials, the big thing here is that you are going to have some good protection with that T409, really excellent exhaust flow, and a nice sound that's going to be a perfect addition to a daily driven truck. Now, installation will get a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter. It should only take you about 2 hours to complete. Nothing too complicated here, just your usual exhaust fare. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a totally bolt-in system, and it comes with all of the clamps and hardware that you need to get this installed. And it is going to utilize all of your factory exhaust hanger locations. And with that, let's head over to the install bay right now, where we'll show you the process.
For this install, you will need an impact, ratchet, extension, 8mm Allen head socket, 10 and 15mm sockets, hanger pliers, tape measure, marker, and a cutting wheel or flap wheel. What's up guys? Today we're going to be installing a new exhaust on our F-250, but before we do so, we're going to send you to watch a short video on how to uninstall your factory system, and we'll see you when you get back.
All right, so our first step is going to be to remove these 2 exhaust clamps on either side of our resonator. Now, normally this would be done with a 15mm socket, but since ours are both completely rusted out, we're going to be cutting them off with a cutoff wheel. So let's get started on that. All right, so now we can get a pair of safety glasses on and start cutting our bolt. We're going to cut it at the top of this nut right here, so that way we can save the clamp because it is tack welded at the top, and then just replace our hardware inside. All right, so now with our first clamp cut, we could either cut this second clamp, or this whole exhaust actually can come off with just this clamp removed. So that's how we're gonna do it. So we need to remove our 3 exhaust hangers, and then we can bang this out of place. All right, and now we can move on to our second one. All right, so now to remove our last hanger, we have a 10 mil bolt here and then a 10 mil bolt on the inside of the frame. So we can remove that and drop this down. All right, so for that top bolt inside the frame rail, we're just gonna come in with a regular ratchet. There's not much clearance to get an electric ratchet on there. All right, so we misspoke earlier. There is actually going to be one more hanger on the opposite side of the muffler from the second one. So we can go ahead and get in there and get this out of there. All right, so we'll get a little pry bar, pry that the rest of the way back, and then this exhaust can fall and we can get it off the car. So now we have a pole jack in the back to support the weight of the back of the exhaust. And now we're gonna take a rubber mallet and start hitting this resonator and slide our exhaust back so we can get it free.
Hey guys, welcome back. Now that we've shown you how to remove your factory system, we're going to go ahead and begin with the install of our new system. Now this one in particular has specifications on your mid-pipe. Depending on your style of truck, whether it's a crew cab, super crew, 5.5 foot box, and so on. Ours is a super crew with a 6 foot box, so we're going to need to cut this down to 32 inches. So grab our measuring tape and a Sharpie, and we're going to go ahead and mark out 32 inches here. So we'll go ahead and find our 32-inch mark. And we'll mark that out. Then we can go ahead and cut that. Now you can either use a cutting wheel if you're doing this at home, or if you have a chop saw or something like that, you can go ahead and use that as well. We're going to be using our chop saw, but a cutting wheel will work. Just make sure you mark around so you have a straight line. So we've got our mid-pipe here in our chop saw, and we've gone ahead and lined it up with our blade, and we're going to go ahead and use this to cut it. Now it's important, whether you're using a cutting wheel, chop saw, anything like that, to always wear safety glasses or shatterproof glasses, and make sure that everything is in working order before you begin cutting. So now that we've made our cut, we've got to deeper our edges here, and for this you can use a belt sander or an attachment on your cutoff wheel that has a flap wheel on it or something like that. We have our 40 grit disc here on our angle grinder. We're just going to go ahead and knock these burrs off and get this cleaned up. And you always want to remember to get the inside too, because obviously anything in there, like what we have currently, will impede your exhaust flow and create turbulence, and we don't want that. So now that we've got everything cut and cleaned up, we can go ahead under the vehicle with our mid-pipe, and we're going to take our 3-inch clamp, slide that over our slip joint here. And we're going to install our mid-pipe right here. And we're just going to snug this clamp down. Now we're not going to fully tighten it. And to do that, we're going to use our 15mm socket on our impact. So just a little tight for now. We're not going to send it home all the way because we may need to make adjustments. So then we can move on to our next step. So our next step is going to be to add our hanger clamp. So we're going to grab our hanger, and it's slotted to go on our 4-inch clamp here. And we'll just go ahead and squeeze our clamp. Get that set into place. And slot it in like that. So then we'll go ahead and slide our clamp onto our mid pipe here. Then we'll get it lined up with our isolator here. Go ahead and get that in place. Then again, we're just gonna go ahead and snug this clamp down for now. We're not gonna fully tighten it using our 15mm socket on our impact. So next we can get our muffler installed. So we'll slip another 4-inch clamp over the inlet side of our muffler, and then slide that on to our mid pipe. Then again, we'll go ahead and just snug this clamp down for now, using our 15mm socket on our ratchet. So next we can go ahead and get our middle hangers on. So again, we're gonna attach this to our clamp. So we're gonna go ahead and squeeze our clamp. Slide this into place. So now we can go ahead and line our hangers up with our isolators. And we'll go ahead and get our first one through. And our inner one through. Then we can line up our muffler with our clamp. Go ahead and slide that into place. So we're gonna go ahead and leave this clamp loose for now so we can slide in our over axle section. We're gonna go ahead and work that in just like that. And slide it into our muffler section like so. And now we can go ahead and snug down this clamp using our 15mm socket on our impact. Just snug, not fully tight yet. So now that we have our over axle section in, we can go ahead and reinstall our hanger isolator that we took off with our factory system. So we'll go ahead and line that back up and reinstall two 10mm bolts that were holding it. Now we can go ahead and tighten down these bolts with our 10mm socket extension on our ratchet. Next we can install our tail section. So we're gonna go ahead and slide another 4-inch clamp over our slip joint here. Then we'll start by lining up our slip joint to our over axle section. And we've gone ahead and put our clamp over our tail section there so we don't forget it. And then once we have our slip joint lined up and fully seated, we can line up our rear hanger and line up our tail section. So now that we've got this through a pretty good ways, we're gonna see how it comes out before we put our tip on. Obviously it needs to be adjusted. So we're gonna come down here, make our adjustments, make sure it's not hitting this heat shield here between your exhaust and your spare wheel. And then we can go ahead and begin tightening it down. So we'll go ahead and tighten down this clamp, again with our 15mm socket and ratchet and impact. Now while still holding it in place, we're going to tighten down our double clamp hanger. So now we're going to work our way to our clamp at the inlet side of our muffler and go ahead and tighten this down. And you want to make sure it stays pretty much flush with the end of your slip joint. Make sure that's nice and tight. Next we'll come to our hanger here. We'll go ahead and tighten this one down. And lastly, we'll come to our slip fit here after our muffler. Now that we've got everything nice and tight under here, we can go out and install our tip and get that fit the way we want. So now that we've got everything pretty well adjusted, we're gonna go ahead and install our tip. And that's just gonna slide on like this. Turn it up to face. You just wanna make sure it's not hitting any of your body panels or anything like that. And you've got clearance. And then we'll tighten it down using our 8mm Allen head. And give it a good shakedown, make sure nothing is loose. And then we'll go ahead and wipe this down, clean it up. Alrighty guys, that about wraps up our review and install of our MBRP 4-inch XP Series single exit exhaust system with polished tips and side exit for your 11 to 16 6.2 liter F-250 Super Duty. Thanks for watching, and as always, for everything F-250, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.